Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Frank Unicycle, most commonly known as the inventor of the back half of a bicycle. Today we're going to be working on the home of someone who's had a lot of trouble with pet hair. She's had a lot of problems with mobility, and she's part of a program that we have in my area where people will do a temporary adoption for pets. So instead of the pets being put into shelters and just held in cages, they're temporarily held by people. And then whenever someone comes along who can adopt the pets, then they just adopt them out from home to home. Now, the only problem with that, especially whenever you have poor mobility, is that it gets more and more difficult to keep up with the massive amount of dog hair that accumulates, dog hair and cat hair. So we came in to give her a fresh start on the house. We're going to go ahead and do a cleaning on it, but really the floors are where the big issue was. She had to have a bunch of carpet removed, which fortunately looks like it either revealed really nice hardwood underneath or they installed hardwood. I'm not sure which, but the floors are pretty nice. I think it revealed hardwood because there are still carpet tack strips along the edges that still need to be removed. But before we get to that, we'll jump into doing things like the stove. And the stove didn't have a bunch of burnt on stuff on it, so I didn't have to use oven cleaner. I could just soak that down with Mr. Clean's Clean Freak and just let it sit for about 5 minutes. Then I just used a scouring pad to get the bulk of the crud off of it. Then I could just switch to a regular everyday microfiber towel to wipe up the remaining cleaning solution. After that, I'll follow it up with APC, which stands for all-purpose cleaner. It's basically a mixture of 70% isopropyl alcohol and 5 or 6 drops of Dawn dish soap. And I'm just using that to sanitize the stove as well as shine it up. That's a really good mixture to get rid of streaks, especially on a black stove. I apologize if the camera is doing some weird stuff. I've been having a little bit of issue with my camera, so I'm probably going to have to get another one soon. But you're just going to have to deal with it, son. I'll film with a camera whether it's broken or not. I don't even care. They call me Broken Camera Filming Johnny back in Tucson. Yo, man, is that old Broken Camera Johnny? I don't know. His phone looks fine. Now, I do have Jason with me today. Filth. And he's going to help me tag team this room. So I'm doing what I thought was actually a wood top table until I took the stuff off and realized that's a tablecloth. It's like one of those plasticky type ones. But I'm going to clean that off while he's working on the old school dishwasher. I think that's what that is. Now, one of the problems we ran into is this is a pretty small place, especially the kitchen area. And so there's not really any room to put any of this stuff away. When I say small, it's not like tiny, but there's not a lot of cabinet space. So we're going to take everything off of her surfaces, clean those down with a Clean Freak, and then we're just going to put back what she had on there as orderly as we can so that it just doesn't look clumped up on top of each other. Now, there's some small tricks you can do here. For instance, instead of having the bottles of water in the package, I could take those out and set those up in a line. And then there's like little things of cat food that I could stack on top of each other rather than have them scattered out. But yeah, there's really not a lot to work with here, so there wasn't a ton we could do as far as making it look the way I normally like it to look, which is less is better. My normal rule is if it can be put it away, we will put it away. But in this one, there's really nowhere to put it. when I cleaned the microwave, this was not filthy. I mean, it definitely needed cleaned, but I just do that with Mr. Clean. Now, a lot of people don't like it. They say it leaves a chemical smell or a chemical taste in the microwave. I've never noticed that myself because I go to great lengths to make sure that I get all that dried up and completely wiped out before I move on. There are people who swear by putting like a cup of water and lemon in the microwave and then turning it on, and then that creates steam, which loosens up all the grease and grime and dirt. Some people put wet sponges in there and do the same thing. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't want to heat up some water and just waste the electricity in order to make it slightly easier to clean the microwave when I can just spray it down with this and it does the same thing. Now, one of the other problems that happens when you don't have a lot of room is there's not a lot of places that you can move things. So a lot of times we have to move things off of, say, like a 2 or 3 foot section of countertop and clean that and then put the thing right back on it rather than taking everything off and cleaning the counters all at once. So you'll see us doing this a lot in this house, not just in the kitchen, but in the dining room, which has been converted to kind of like a craft and computer area. I just have to take things off little bits at a time and clean small areas. I had Jason start on the dishes because there wasn't many there, and we want to clean this sink with Barkeeper's Friend because the most dramatic thing that you can improve in a kitchen is a stainless steel sink. Barkeeper's Friend is so good at shining those up and making them look like new. Meanwhile, while he's doing the dishes, I'm going to go into the dining room or the computer room and I'm going to wipe down all the little stands and the computer desk with Mr. Clean just to get the dust and grime off of it. And then I'm going to polish that with Old English wood polish. It's basically like a wood oil and it makes everything shine and glow. Now, like an idiot, I didn't point the camera at the stand that I was cleaning, but you'll see me doing it a little bit better here on the computer desk itself. Oh, and if you're wondering, that is indeed an Oh Look More Dishes t-shirt. That comes directly from my merch shop. I will link that in the description. We sell all kinds of t-shirts and mugs and stickers and fridge magnets with some of my dumbest phrases on there because that's how I roll, son. Oh yeah, and we have a That's How I Roll, son shirt too, as well as a filth one. Filth. Or if you're not into calling Jason filth, there is a Team Jason one. I never like taking knickknacks off of counters because I'm always afraid I'm going to drop one and break it. But this one was really, really dusty and I really wanted to Old English this whole thing. So I just took these off in half and half sections. And part of the reason I did that was I wanted to remember where everything went. And if I took everything off of there, then it's a pretty good chance I'll forget. If you're ever cleaning a house, like somebody's house that you don't know, which I don't know why you do that unless you owned a housekeeping business, but let's say you own a housekeeping business. If you're ever cleaning off a super knick-knacked shelf, before you start taking things off of it, take a picture. That way, in case you forget where things go, you can just refer to your phone and get everything back in the right spot. We call that a knick-knack paddywhack. Give a dog your phone is what they call that. Now, we're going to be doing a lot more on this house. This is just a step 1 and possibly a step 2 cleaning for these rooms. And what I mean by that is step 1 is getting it basically clean. Step 2 is when you go into more polishing type stuff, which I am doing a little bit of that here. But we're going to go back and do her bathroom and 2 bedrooms. And then I'm going to also do her garage. Now, the funny thing about this one was she allowed me to film, but she insisted on paying me. And she was very clear about that in the messages that she sent me before I got to the house. She really, really wanted to make sure that I got paid. So what I did was Jason and I finished the house and then immediately left before she had a chance to even talk to us. And then we just sent her a text from the road saying, "Hey, we're done. The floors are still wet. I'll be back next week." One of the things I'd really like to do in this house is help her organize a little bit better, because she's got large collections of books and papers and crafts. And I think there are ways that we can reduce those, not just by throwing them away. I don't think there's a lot in here that needs thrown away, but I think we could help her reduce the space that they take up just by getting a little bit creative in how we store those. And I'd like to get some of the stuff that's just stored directly on the computer desk out of the way and out of vision. She seems pretty open to a lot of what we need to do, so we may end up getting into a little bit of redecorating at some point in here just to make the house look a little bit more homey and a little bit more open. On the chair, I'm using just a leather conditioner. That's really good for both leather and vinyl. The chair didn't super need it, but it was really dusty. I was like, if I'm going to wipe it down, I might as well wipe it down with leather conditioner and kind of soften that up a bit. Meanwhile, Jason is in the kitchen and he's using Barkeeper's Friend on the stainless steel sink, and you'll notice a pretty significant difference after he's done. If you don't have access to Barkeeper's Friend, Comet is also really good. It's just Barkeeper's is a little bit better on stainless steel than Comet. And Jason also picked up that little sprayer in the middle of this and tried to rinse all that off, and it didn't work. So he was using the sponge trick where you just squeeze out a bunch of water. So he picked up the sprayer again to show you guys that it wasn't working, that in his own words, he was like, I'm showing him that I'm not an idiot, that the sprayer just wasn't working. So whenever he squeezed the trigger, it was in fact working. So you guys can feel free to give him crap all you want now, because he was wrong. He was wrong. Filth. This area was some of the easiest clutter to clean up because a lot of this was just empty boxes. and then one was a small box of Christmas ornaments. So we just got those out of the way, got rid of the old empty boxes, and then just kind of organized the rest of it. Very quick wipe down with Mr. Clean, and this was good to go. The house is not in bad condition at all. I mean, her stuff is very well taken care of. It's just a smaller place that doesn't quite have room for all the stuff that she's got. And she's not overloaded, not even close to comparing to any of the other houses that I clean that are full-blown hoarder houses. It's just the reduced mobility along with taking care of those pets while they're in between homes. That hair, I mean, you can see it all over the floor. It just piles up so bad. We're not quite ready to fully do the floors yet, but I didn't want to be tracking dog hair and grime all over the rest of the house, so I did want to go ahead and get an initial sweep done. When I get the 4 sides of the room done and I sweep this out into the middle, it will blow your mind how much dog hair is in here. I mean, as I'm sweeping that right-hand side, you can see a color difference on the floor between the right and the left halves. So it's not just dog hair. It's, you know, the dogs go in and out to do their business, and when they come back in, over time, they're bringing more and more dirt from outside to inside, and it just collects so bad. But look how pretty that floor is. I mean, once we get the main crud off of it, especially when we start mopping it, it's a really pretty floor. Found a couple places where Jason forgot to dust. Now, while I was doing the stuff in the beginning of the video, Jason was dusting the whole house. I mean, you can kind of get sort of a blindness when you're dusting a full house, especially one that's got a lot of stuff in it. You start concentrating on the main areas of like the surfaces and the baseboards and all that, and you just kind of overlook small things like bookshelves and stuff that's got a lot of knickknacks on it. I'm not being super picky here, but I'm showing Jason a little trick on this table where you can look at the brackets where the legs are, and you can pretty much eyeball the exact center of the table so that the things that go on the table can go back there in like perfect symmetry. Now, here's another area that we ran into just a bit of trouble. It's like a folding TV tray, and everything that she has on this tray is usable. Everything on here she can use on a daily to an every other day use. And so there's not really a bunch of places that we can store this stuff. So we just figured we'll take it all off, wipe it down, and then we'll put everything back into sort of groups. And it still looks massively cluttered, but I mean, if she's using the stuff, cluttered or not, it's now put in the easiest spot for her to reach. especially with mobility issues. It's all within reach. She doesn't have to get up and go to another room to get it. So suck it. That's why they call me I don't even care if it looks cluttered Johnny back in Galveston. So we're getting ready to full on tackle these floors here in a second. I had Jason sweep this room, and then we actually double swept the other 2 rooms as well. After we mopped, we found that there was even more dog hair and more stuck on stuff that loosened up as we were mopping. So while it was still wet, I actually swept everything a 3rd time, and then we ended up double mopping every floor. Now, once we got it back into this condition, if she gets a regular housekeeper to come in, say weekly or bi-weekly, they can maintain this pretty easily. And those floors are really nice. I'm really glad they took off the carpet. But yeah, those are pretty easy to maintain. Just use a little Murphy's Oil soap on them. Now, this was the most cluttered room. It was, you can see that they were putting up drywall and stuff or getting ready to. And then there was a pause on the construction. And so she just started throwing her extra boxes in there. There's no real trash in this room, but she's also storing some stuff that is good stuff. So I broke down all the extra boxes, and an easy way to do that without having to stuff a giant trash can full of them is to pick out the biggest box in the whole room and don't break it down. That'll be your container box. Then you can break down the smaller boxes and put those into the bigger box, and then just take out one box rather than 50 that are jammed into a trash bag. Normally what I do is I'll just go into a room like this and then do just a whirlwind style spin kick, and all the boxes just combust from the friction. But the problem with doing it in here is there are some good items in here, and I don't want to accidentally set the whole room on fire. So I just decided to go ahead and break these down by hand rather than spin kicking them and losing all of our possessions. For those of you who don't know, I have started doing YouTube Lives. I did my very first one yesterday or day before, and it was a lot of fun. We had over 1,000 people watching. They're very relaxed. I don't do anything formal whatsoever, but it was a lot of fun. I plan on doing some more. I also do lives over on TikTok. I've got a link to that in my About section. And I'm starting to spread my wings out a little bit more as we do more and more of these videos, and I dedicate myself to them more frequently. I'm trying to get to where we can travel around and do more than one video per week. Or technically it would be more than 2, because if you're a member of the channel, you get an extra video every Wednesday. That's the subscription membership. There's a link to join in the description of all my newer videos, including this one. And I always tell people every time I mention that, if you can't afford it, don't do that. Don't pay for subscription, but it's just an extra way that people can monetarily support the channel and then get a little bit of extra goofiness every week. This floor is almost like an optical illusion. It is so crazy. So you can see before I swept it, it looked like there was basically not a lot on the floor. It just looked like a plain old kitchen floor. But the more I sweep, the more hair appears. It's like I'm sweeping it out of thin air. It's so spread out that you can't really see it on the floor until you start sweeping. And then all of a sudden it's like, hold on, man, there's like a whole dog worth of hair here. Where the heck did that come from? And then the floor's all like, it came from my floor body. Thank you for asking. And I'm like, shut up, floor. I don't put up with talking floors. We're going to mop all these floors, including the hardwood ones, with Lysol. And there's two reasons that I'm doing that. One, Lysol's pretty good at cutting through dirt and grime, and all these floors have a massive amount of grime ground into it. And two, Lysol sanitizes. And with that much dog hair and that much dirt on the floor, I really wanted something to sanitize the floors. So we mopped all of them with Lysol first. Then after that, we let them dry for just a tiny bit, and then I swept them even while they were still damp to get the next layer of grime off. Then we mixed up another bucket of Murphy's oil soap and mopped everything, including the linoleum, with Murphy's soap, because the floors desperately needed at a minimum 2 mops. And I really probably could have given it a third or a fourth one, if I'm honest. I get asked in every video, do we move the stove? Do we move the fridge? Do we clean behind and under those? I don't. If they want to hire somebody else to do that, fine. If they got family members that can do that, that's great. I always tell them that they need to do that eventually, but I have a bad back, so does Jason. I do not move gas stoves ever anyway, because I don't want to risk busting a gas line. And the refrigerators, not so much in this house, but in hoarder houses, the refrigerators can be 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds, just from all the massive amount of food that they store in them. So no, I never move those out of the way, but I always tell the owners that if they have the opportunity and they've got somebody who can do it for them, like a family member or whatever, to have them do that eventually. And then I do a backflip right after I say it, just to let them fully understand visually that I mean business. They're like, well, I was going to just blow that off, but he did a backflip after saying it, so he must be like real talking. I mean, nobody says something and then does a backflip and not mean what they just said. All right, so after we get done with Lysol, the main top layer of dirt and grime is gone. So now that's when we're going to switch to Murphy's. And we're just going to start in the living room and back our way out of the house. So the living room, then the dining room, then the kitchen, and we just mop our way right out the back door. If you like watching stuff like this, please hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers, and we are closing in on 250,000 already. This channel is only about a year old, and within just a few months, we got our first plaque, which was the silver plaque, at 100,000 subscribers. And now it looks like we have a realistic shot of actually getting 1 million subs. That would be awesome. And get the gold plaque and then shove it right in Jason's face so that he knows I'm a better person than him. That's how I roll, son. Gold plaque and all. Members, I will see you on Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll see you next weekend. Later. filth.